Comedy. It's something that's very, very hard to pull off. Unless you're me, because I make this shit look fucking easy. Not many people and not many series can actually pull comedy off well, and this is mainly due to how subjective comedy is. And basically what I mean by that is that a joke that you find funny might not be funny to another person. But when it comes to comedy animes and mangas, very few of them are actually funny. Off the top of your head, what are some of the best comedy animes and or mangas? We got Kaguya-sama Love is War, which should be a no-brainer for best comedy, but if you disagree, then you're just a stupid idiot and have bad taste in comedy. Then you have Panty and Stalking, which is an underrated gem of a comedy. Then you got Gintama over there, which is an acquired taste, but not a bad choice either. You can say Fully Cooley is a good comedy anime, but you can also say, I have shit taste in comedy and get the same point across. Spy Family is unarguably the funniest manga in Shonen Jump Plus, while Mission Yozakura Family is arguably the best comedy manga in Weekly Shonen Jump. Then there's Mia Roboko, which is just a waste of space in the Shonen Jump magazine and is not funny, like at all, and is complete garbage. But when it comes to the topic of the best comedy anime, KonoSuba definitely deserves to be in that conversation. KonoSuba, God's blessing on this wonderful world, follows Kazuma Sato, a boy who is sent to a fantasy world with MMORPG elements following his death. In this world, he forms a dysfunctional adventuring party with a goddess, an archwizard, and a crusader. Now look. I know it's an isekai, and it's one of the better isekais available, but not only is it peak comedy, but it's also peak isekais pulling double duty. So the title of this video, you can easily replace comedy with isekai and it will still be the same. But the question you ask yourself is, why is it a good comedy anime? KonoSuba understands the basic fundamentals of comedy and it's not cringe while doing it. It has really well written jokes, perfect comedic timing, and it subverts the viewer's expectations. Now in most isekai animes, they follow a similar format. The MC dies, he gets transported to a new world and becomes OP. But in KonoSuba, our boy Kazuma dies in the most embarrassing way imaginable by getting hit by a slow moving tractor and dying from shock while pissing himself. Then when he wakes up in the gulag, even the goddess Aqua laughs at him for how much of a loser he was when he died. Like, imagine your parents laughing at you when you fucking died. But yada yada yada, he wins the gulag, gets respawned in the new world with no money, weak stats, and a useless goddess as his sidekick. KonoSuba subverts the audience by flipping the typical isekai tropes on its head. A lot of KonoSuba's comedy is based on subverting the audience and their knowledge of isekai anime. But the very core of the comedy for KonoSuba is definitely the characters. The characters are very likable and they all have great chemistry together. First up, we have Kazuma, the top tier MC himself. Sato Kazuma is very sarcastic, cynical, and blunt. Kazuma is not afraid to say what's on his mind and always makes sure to remind Aqua that she is fucking useless. But Kazuma is definitely the most sane member of this group, and he's extremely enjoyable and has probably the most funny moments in the entire anime. And just like yours truly, my nigga Kazuma is an advocate for true gender equality, as he states multiple times that he's not afraid to dropkick a woman or doesn't care about female privilege. Male, female, you're all equal in his eyes. But Kazuma does lose some points for not smashing Aqua. My man's was comfortable enough to beat his meat while laying in the same bed straw pile as her every night. My man was brave enough to choke the chicken while Aqua was sleeping right next to him every night. If he was comfortable to do that, then he should have been comfortable to tell her to toot that ass up. And speaking of Aqua, Aqua is a high-spirited, cheerful, carefree, useless bitch. Aqua is a goddess with maxed out stats, but rarely helps out, if at all, because she is a narcissistic asshole who spent all of her skill points on party tricks. Aqua would be more useful as a fucking cum dump. But even with all these downsides, Aqua is still a very enjoyable character and the show would not be the same without her, and I would not have her replaced at all. Aqua might be a useless goddess, but I'd still explode in her. And speaking of explosions, we have Mega Man, who is my favorite character. And according to the internet, she is a lot of people's favorite character. Mega Man is a loud, boisterous, eccentric, and over-theatrical person. She uses explosion magic, the strongest magic in the entire world. But afterwards, she's useless. Explosion is basically just a big red button. You hit it once, and then it drops a nuke, and then that's it. Mega Man casting explosion is probably the most hype moments of any KonoSuba episode. Mega Man is an extremely charming and very likable character. Even though she can be a little shithead sometimes, I still love her, and there's a reason why she's the most popular character in the entire fan base. And oh yeah, for those of you who don't know, explosion is basically an innuendo for coming. Mega Man is obsessed with explosions and gets blue balls if she doesn't let off an explosion at least once a day. So yeah, do with that information what you will. But speaking of exploding and coming, I want to come inside of Darkness. Darkness, or better known as La Latina, is a very nice and noble crusader who couldn't hit a building to save her life, which leads to her taking more damage from enemies, which isn't the problem. She's the tank of the team. She's supposed to take all the damage. She's the Reinhardt of this squad. She's in the front lines taking all the damage. She doesn't take all this damage to be useful or to protect her team. She takes all this damage because she's a fucking masochist. Yeah, she's into that 50 Shades of Grey type shit. But her masochism borders on the line of seeking professional fucking help. I mean, she almost had an entire city killed when they all followed her into a nuclear bomb. All because she was horny. But Darkness was my waifu before the anime started, and she still is. But I started to appreciate Darkness more after watching season 2 episode 4, and I was introduced to La Latina in a dress, and Jesus Christ, I know your back has to be hurting from carrying all of that titty. This main cast is very flawed, but they are extremely likable, and they have well-defined personalities, and they have a dynamic that never gets stale. And what makes these characters better is that they are all subversions of what you would expect in a regular isekai. Kazuma isn't an overpowered MC who gets all the bitches, unlike a certain black swordsman. Aqua is the goddess of the group, who you would think would be the most overpowered one and the most useful one, but in fact she's neither of those. Mega Man is a mage who knows one spell and can use it once a day. And Darkness is the tank of the team who doesn't block all the damage to protect her teammates, but she does it just to get a nut off. You see how these characters alone already subvert your expectations of what a regular isekai is. And the comedy uses that to its full advantage, making them do things that are out of character for what their character regularly does. You would think Kazuma would be the one finishing off all the enemies, but in fact, he's never the one to finish off all the enemies. In fact, he's the weakest one in the party. Obviously, there's more characters, but I don't feel like talking about all of them. But the characters of this anime are the backbone for why KonoSuba is peak comedy. But don't get it twisted, just about every aspect of this anime is peak. The voice acting in Japanese is absolutely phenomenal, and the way they speak, the way that they change their tone when the jokes come about just makes the jokes even funnier. And the dub voice acting is it's alright. I mean, if you like it, but I'm just saying you're missing out with the Japanese. These voice actors just put their absolute all into these characters, and every time Mega Man's character says I just lose it. And the visuals for this anime is absolutely phenomenal. The characters, they all are very colorful, they're very unique looking, and they all look great when standing next to each other. It just makes you want to buy figurines of all of them. The animation is also very good. The characters, they move very fluently. The facial expressions are absolutely golden. Like, how many times have you seen Aqua screaming Darkness's horny face or Mega Man somewhere on the internet? I'm telling you, you've at least seen one of these faces at least once. But what I appreciate more is the Sakuga. Jesus Christ, I love the Sakuga in this anime. It goes too hard for a comedy isekai. The animation for Mega Man's explosions alone just get me so hype every time. They're so beautiful to look at. And then Kazuma versus the King Lizard Runners was dope as fuck too. Then for the times that Aqua is actually useful, her Sakuga be looking dope too. Her God Blow just looks so sick. But let's talk about the comedy of this anime very briefly again. Very few comedy animes or mangas make me laugh out loud. And it's not one of those little sniff laughs, but an actual genuine belly laugh that comes from the depths of my stomach. There were times during this anime where I had to legit pause it just so I can finish laughing. And And the only other comedy anime that made me do that consistently was Kaguya-sama, and that's my top 10. So you know that's a good sign for KonoSuba. But why is KonoSuba this damn funny? It's because of the writing. I've said it throughout this video. This anime subverts your expectation for everything you know about isekai. You can't go into this anime thinking that it's going to be a regular isekai because it isn't. And that's the best parts about the comedy of this anime. It takes what you know about isekai and flips it on its head. And the characters are all lovable, and the way that they all interact with each other just makes whatever jokes that they have funny. It might not even be a funny joke, but the way that these characters interact with each other just makes it even better. And this anime is not afraid to dive deep with its comedy. The comedy sometimes is very adult and kids will not get it, but that's the best part. It's not afraid to dive deep into that pit of comedy. Like my man Kazuma talks about beating women, and it's funny. Not many people can make that funny. KonoSuba is not afraid to be taboo with its comedy, and it's absolutely wonderful. Not only is KonoSuba a breath of fresh air for isekai animes, but it's a breath of fresh air for comedy animes, and you have to watch it. You're missing out if you don't watch KonoSuba.